Welcome to the 36th International Haifa Film Festival. My name is Iris Rilov. I'm a clinical psychologist and a writer from Haifa and a big fan of the festival. My honorable guests here are the makers of one of the most charming and moving documentaries I got to watch recently, Beautiful Something Left Behind. A movie that already won this year the Grand Jury Award at the South by Southwest Festival. So good afternoon to Katrine Philp, the film director, and to Katrine Salstrom, the producer, both speaking now from Denmark.
Hello.
And both of you are very accomplished and awarded filmmakers, so I would be very happy if you could introduce yourselves and your work in a few words.
Hi, I'm Katrine Philp, and I'm the director of Beautiful Something Left Behind. And I've been working with documentaries for many years now, and I just really love my work. I love my job because I love meeting people, and I love, it gives me a chance to get out in the real world and meet a lot of great people and find a lot of great stories, and yeah, so that's a dream job for me.
It sounds like
if you're just a little bit curious, then it's a dream job for everyone, I think.
Lucky you and lucky us.
Yes.
Thank you. Katrina?
Yes, I am the lucky producer of some of Katrine's films. I started out working in fiction film and worked with Lars von Trier for many years at his company Centropa. And then I switched to documentaries like about 7 years ago, I think, and produced my first documentary. And that's been very fun. I like that even more, I think, than producing fiction. And I have a company together with Katrine and some other directors and another producer that we call Good Company Pictures, that we've had for 6 years now. And we do documentaries only, at least so far. Yeah.
Wow. I'm really curious to hear more about your change, but we'll keep it for later. We'll see if we have enough time. We only have 30 minutes and so much to talk about. Mm-hmm. So I want to congratulate you both for the really beautiful, heartbreaking and heartwarming movie. And I'll just say in a few sentences for those who didn't have a chance to watch the film yet, that the movie is about, it's documenting the lives of 6 American children and their families. All the children have recently lost a parent or a very close relative. One of the children even lost both parents within a year and a half, which is very tragic. And these children are attending group meetings at a special center, the Good Grief Community, where they're able to process their mourning through playing and talking. And for a start, I'm very curious to learn from you both how the idea of the film came about. Where did it come from?
Well, I don't know, Katrine, if you will start.
Well, at least some of the idea, maybe the very specific idea, came from a podcast I listened to from This American Life. Just a short one, I think it's just about 20 minutes, which takes place at a similar place like Good Grief in Utah. And the other Katrina listened to it as well. And I think both of us were both surprised and almost a bit shocked about the way that some children have to deal with death and grief in such an early age. And also by the way they were dealing with it so directly and without fear. And that really inspired us a lot and made us look at those specific places. And so we reached out to this specific place in Utah and had a good dialogue, but we also researched for other similar places in the United States. And then Katrina found Good Grief in Morristown, New Jersey, which ended up being the place where we did the film.
Yeah, and I think, we contacted Joe Primo, who's the CEO at Good Grief, And he was just, you know, he just opened his arms and welcomed us and said that, hey, come over and just, you know, you could try and film here. And I was, after just one day, I was very I was very sure that there was a film to be discovered there, and so we just continued filming. Yeah, and I don't know really where the idea came from. I think, you know, I don't think that we as directors always know why we are going after a topic. I think for me, the reason is often something that I discovered during filming and while meeting my protagonist. And in the beginning, I just have an idea of something, that I just have a feeling of it. I've read something in a magazine, I've heard a conversation about something in the train, or in this case, Katrine presents me with this episode on This American Life. And I think while researching, and I think it's very unconscious what you're interested in at one specific point. And I think in this film, in my research, it begins to make completely sense why I'm interested in this topic, because in some way it's always linked to something inside of you, I think. Yeah.
I'm sure that.
Yeah, and I began to go back a little bit, and some years ago I was very close at losing my sister-in-law, and I watched my brother and their 3 children, by her side, and while she was struggling with her life, and luckily she survived, but it still left mark in the entire family. And I think,
I'm sorry, I missed this. Somebody passed away.
Ah, okay. No, somebody didn't pass away, luckily. Okay. But my is it a bad connection?
No.
Okay.
It's me.
Okay, it was my sister-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
who became sick, and she was struggling with her life, keeping herself alive, and I was watching my brother and the 3 children by her side, and I think luckily she survived, and she's all right now, and everything is good. But I think it left marks in all of us, and I think maybe that tricked this idea some years later. And when during the filming, my dad actually also became sick, and he died.
Wow.
So I was experiencing my own grief while diving into the children's grief. So it was like everything merged in a way. So that was really powerful, and a kind of a emotional roller coaster for me, but also really nice to have the film to lean upon in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And
to dive into it.
Yeah, and I think that it also helped my connection and my with the children and the families.
There was a sense of something close that you can, empathy.
Exactly, empathy. That I knew what they were going through, because I was going through some of the same feelings at this specific moment.
Right. Mm. And you wrote about it in your director's statement. You wrote, one of the worst things after my father died was the silence of people. Yeah. Not knowing what to say, avoiding me, maybe struck with fear of how to talk about death and grief. And that must be a very, very difficult experience. And I was wondering, I'm kind of switching into another question about the cultural atmosphere, perhaps, because you are Danish filmmakers, and you made a film in the United States.
Yeah.
And I was wondering in general about the cultural differences, and specifically if you could notice cultural differences regarding attitude towards grief, and specifically children grieving.
Yes, I think in Denmark they do it very different, like in the grief support groups. They have these groups and it's almost only conversation based. They draw a little bit, but they are more focused on the conversation. And when I heard about how they do it in the United States, there's a lot of places like Good Grief in the United States. I think there are around 500 places like this. Wow. Yeah, so it's kind of a way that how they do it, and I felt that it was a more holistic way that they use play much more, and it was more on, you know, on the same level as the children in a way, because you cannot, it's not all children that are ready to talk about their feelings every second Thursday at 8 o'clock. Some children just need to play, and then they have all these different rooms. Volcano room where they can go in and give into rage and frustrations, and they have a sand room where they can play with sand and small coffins, and they have a hospital, fully equipped hospitals room where they can go in and they can also play with teddy bears or not be afraid of touching anything, because some children might have some really bad experiences in hospitals rooms. So and through the play they begin to talk, and then there's someone there to help them and to talk to them, and I think it resonates much better in my idea of how to help children when they are grieving. And it was also very much more filmic than in Denmark, and it was more easy for us to get access actually. So
would you say there were more open to?
They were more definitely. They just, you know, opened the door completely, and we did not have any really restrictions. I think from the very beginning, the CEO at this place trusted us very much, and then the families began to trust us. It happened really fast, and then we, in a way, just, you know, we were there very much, and we actually, my husband is the cinematographer. We actually, because we started out going back and forth filming, and we actually decided to move there for a 4-month period, and we brought our children as well. We have 2 kids, so we came there as a family as well. And I think that I don't know, but I think it felt for them very safe, and like not like a film crew moving into their lives.
Families.
Yeah, and yeah. So we were there a lot, and we always had our kids running around us when we were filming, and stayed behind the camera when we were filming, and afterwards they played with the children that we filmed. So we all became friends.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
I was wondering about that, because there are some moments in the film where, you know, you capture very intimate, private moments, families. Like I'll tell the audience who haven't seen the film that there's this sweet boy, 6-year-old Peter, who lives with his uncle, a young man, CJ, after losing both his parents. And it's so beautiful to see how they learn to become a family unit throughout the film. And the very private moments there, like when the uncle is reading to Peter at bed before bedtime, or hanging the planets from the ceiling of his room. And I was thinking, how is it working with somebody filming it, with somebody behind the camera at this moment? How is it like to be a fly on the wall in those families' lives? How did you do it?
Again, I think it's all about trust. And I have no wish whatsoever to portray anybody in a way that they would not like to be portrayed. I think I care about them and I respect them, and I also know when to film and when to withdraw, because they are of course very challenged in some days. Some days are good, some days are bad when you are grieving, and it is I think it's very important to be very respectful, and that's also why we decided to have more kids portrayed in the film and not only following one. And okay. I also wanted to have, look at grief from different stages. And we were only planning to film 1.5, 2 years. What was, and I didn't want to overwhelm the families and the children with us being there all the time, because in a film like this, we film 100 hours of footage. Right. So we would be there quite a lot if we were only portraying one. And I also wanted to show that grief can be experienced in different ways. Mm-hmm. And that grief is like one in the end of the film, one mother says that it's like a wave. So it's not, yeah. So it's not like there's a beginning and an ending. It's kind of like you will always have grief with you. It's not that it should disappear. It's not the aim that grief should disappear. It's the aim that you can live your life and continue your life, but carry the grief with you. Right. So I didn't want a kind of like a release ending where we feel that now they are, cured in a way, because that's not the aim, I think. Good grief is there also to help them to cope with grief and to step out into the world. And then when choosing different characters or different protagonists, we could have the raw feelings in the beginning, where we see we have 2 children we filmed at the first day at Good Grief, and it is they are feeling very in a way maybe not scared, but sad and overwhelmed, and until we also filmed children that have been there for years. Mm-hmm. So we got this
spectrum.
Spectrum.
Wide range. Yeah, exactly. That explains a lot, because I was wondering about the structure of the film, choosing several characters, one, and that explains a lot what you're telling me now.
Yeah, and I think the structure also reflects grief. That is something that it will not have like a beginning and an ending. It will we have the feeling that it will go on. Yeah. Some will stop. Some will stop at Good Grief. Some will begin. And also the thing with going in and out of emotions, that was also something that we wanted to work with. Mm-hmm. So the children were, in one moment they were happy playing, and the next moment they could talk about some really hard or difficult things in their lives. So the switch we also wanted to have in the film. And that was pretty difficult to film, because they were. I think it's in their nature in a way that they easily can switch from one emotion to another. Mm-hmm. So we were always like chasing these moments where and then when we were filming someone having some big emotions, then they just in 2 minutes switched. So it was like getting the scene while they was there, and then also get the like switch to another feeling.
Did the final outcome was similar to what you imagined when you planned the script, in terms of the structure and how it was built?
Yeah, we planned how to film the film. We had some rules, and we would always like to film from a child's perspective, and we wanted also to have like steady pictures. We wanted to have like the calmness. We wanted to stay and just let the children talk when they wanted to talk. I didn't want to interrupt with a lot of questions, and I didn't want to, of course I directed scenes. I talked to the families how to do some scenes. I always work in a very transparent way. Well, like telling my protagonist what I would like and what would be good for the film. And I know that you are concerned about these things. Could we make a scene together? You know, so I invite them into the process of making the film. Yeah, sorry, I forgot your question.
Okay, well, we'll just move to the next one. The questions don't matter that much. The answers matter. You use the word transparent, and I was thinking that I could use it in another way to talk about your film. Your presence was not felt in the final outcome. And I thought that was special and beautiful and a choice, because, you know, not all documentaries are made in this way. It was like really being a fly on the wall and let life happen as if you're not there. Very delicate presence, if any. That's what I felt as a viewer. Is this your personality? Was this a choice? Did it just happen that way?
It was definitely something that it's how I like to do films, I think. I actually like to plan scenes, but then I like then I like the situation just to unfold by itself. So I think it creates a safe space for my protagonist, that I talk to them about how we would like to make the scene or what we would like to talk about. Then I just let go, and they will navigate in this arena themselves. So, but at Good Grief, it was very different, because they were there for 1.5 hours, I think. It was more like that Adam, my husband and the cinematographer, was connecting with them very, very quickly, because there were a lot of children there, and all of them were, you know, curious about the camera and crawling around him, and he's very good at people. He's very good at like connecting and inviting them in and having them look at the camera, but we decided after the first shooting how we would like to do this film, and it was very clear from the beginning. So we did a simple set of rules, and we just followed them. It was really nice, and it was really it just came to us right away how we would like it to be. So sometimes you are really you're really like searching for the form of the film, but in this it was very easy to choose. I think also the setting and everything was helped us in a sense, and the topic of the film. And also I wanted to stretch the moments. I just wanted to have longer shots, and I wanted to focus on the children and how they experience it. I didn't want to go and have a lot of experts telling us what to see. I just wanted to experience it myself, you know, have the viewers, the audience to experience it. So and be very close to them.
It feels
so that was really important for me, and to be very honest and raw and close to them.
You accomplished that, I must say.
Thank you. I'm happy about that. Thank you.
So I'm checking how long we have. We have 5 minutes. I have so many questions. I'll ask 2 and we'll see how much time we have for them.
Yeah.
My first question is about the funny moments that you may remember from the film. And my other question is about the final scene, which I thought was so poetic and magical. I'll tell the audience it's filmed at night, where the families go into a park or somewhere in nature, and they fly hot air balloons, but they have fire in them. They're flaming, and the children put in them letters to their deceased parents, so the letters go up to heaven. And for me it was, on the one hand, connecting to the dead parents, and on the other hand, letting them go. That's what I thought, and it was so beautiful. And maybe let's forget about the funny moments. I think we don't have time for both, and let's concentrate on this very poetic and beautiful moment. Can you tell me more about this scene? And
well, the end scene is for me also very powerful, and I actually cried throughout the entire time we filmed it, and a lot of people did that as well. It was very powerful. It was like I didn't knew that it was not meant to be a release scene when planning it. I just it was just magical happening there. And when we were driving away from the scene, I was, I felt that I felt that we have filmed the end scene, and it was actually also the final and the last scene we filmed before we were going back to Denmark. Mm-hmm. So in a way, it everything just ended up in a very powerful way, and I think, and I'm happy that you get what out of it, what you just told me, because it was exactly what I wanted it, and for me it's also very magical. It's like when loneliness in a way is combined with feeling together, the togetherness and loneliness in one scene. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, how grief is sometimes experienced. And I felt like that we were staying here on Earth, and the life was, going on, and they were sending up these lanterns, and it just had the sense of letting go, as you said, of something.
It was very strong, very powerful, and very magical. You did a great job, and
well, thank you so much.
Telling me about you crying throughout the scene helps me understand why is this film so touching, because it was made with love and with strong involvement and emotion. And I want to say to the other Katrine that I understand now. I think I understand why you moved from fiction to documentary.
In fact, I was just thinking that maybe I should interrupt and say this is the beauty of documentary filmmaking, because this is just a perfect scene in so many ways, and we couldn't plan it. I mean, because we had no idea this was going to happen, and then we were just so lucky that it did, and that we could film it, and Katrine was still there, and that it just makes sense on so many levels. So yes,
it's like falling in love, right? It's real life.
It is
emotion and involvement, and and art comes out of it. How wonderful! Lucky you.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very, very much for this wonderful conversation. Is there anything else you would like to tell the Israeli audience that are going to watch your movie, to the Haifa Festival audience?
Well, I mean, we're just really happy that the film meets an audience. It's a shame that we cannot be there in in person and actually get questions and answer questions. But
neither can we. We'll watch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. None of us can be anywhere, but we are so happy that films still travel and gets an audience even under those circumstances. And yeah.
Right. And you mentioned the Corona crisis, and I'm thinking this is a very suitable film for the. I mean, it's always suitable. Grief is always there, but now it's like concentrated period in history.
It's even more relevant.
Yeah, definitely.
These times. Yeah.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Katrine. So nice to meet you, and thank you for the beautiful piece of art you brought us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.